So if your mother, my DNA, my children, I share about 3,000 centimorgans. My first cousin, it's a little less, because it's my father's brother, but because that's my father's brother's son, we share 900 centimorgans. Small, the first, you're still connected to that person, but it's the distance of the connection. Well, Ancestry has cut off prior to 2001, 2000. You could get your centimorgans down to your 6 centimorgans. Those are distant cousins. But what had happened is that you could actually find people related to the slave owner. You could find your enslaver because it would be one step from that person. Well, Ancestry cut off, and now it starts at 7 and 8 centimorgans. So that it cuts you off from those distant cousins. But one thing about Black folks is so long, we have those small centimorgans. Now, people who present, over here, will say, well, you look at 20 centimorgans. Well, that's second cousin, third cousin. And that after that is iffy. Well, I have direct family members who and 8 centimorgans. If I hadn't saved those centimorgans and know that there's direct, if those are my cousins, I wouldn't, and if I didn't know them, I would never know them. So there's politics in DNA genealogy, because if you're able to, I have been able to identify slaveholders in my family because I have half cousins. I share 6 centimorgans with a half cousin. Right. So that person, if I follow that person's history, I'm related to that person through her white ancestors. That gets you back to who your enslavers were. So that's kind of the politics of it. And that's Ancestry DNA. Now, Sean and Jean have both done, there are other companies. I'll give it to you.
I just want to briefly say, with African Ancestry, they don't share, so you don't see cousins. Their only thing that they're selling you is where your DNA came from. So they don't include cousins.
I just want to make another comment. Remember the Nova Scotian stuff that Cheryl was talking about? She found my Nova Scotian ancestors. My ancestors are in that book with those small sentiments.
My question is more specific to the municipal reparations of this body, specific to you, Sean. The Canadian information that you all had covered some of the financial impacts and some of the other things that people faced as far as the stressors when entering into Canada. In that same great migration pattern, especially specific to this board, have you all gathered the economic impact of some of the barriers of entry that people face through that great migration to the city of Detroit specifically? And could that be shared with this body?
No, as genealogists, we were brought here to show you how to do the research, but we haven't done the economic impact. Because from our standpoint, when we're doing our genealogy research, that's quite a bit. So,
do you have any, because you all did share about some of the other, I guess, struggles that people face going in Canada? You have that information and data gathered about some of the struggles, at least impacted by some of the municipal governance places like Detroit when people came?
No, I don't. Thank you.
And let me add to a point on this. People have mentioned, as I said, I'm a trustee of the Detroit Public Library. We have the Burton Historical Collection there. The Burton Historical Collection is a very wide collection. One of the things that when we have this discussion, we tend to focus on what we lost. And that's good. It's natural focus. What we tend not to focus on is what they gain. Okay. So in the Burton, for example, we have the records of the early Fur Association. And if you look at, in terms of our history, you can marry, if you will, the profits, and in some cases in the logs and the minutes of that kind of material, it actually handles us as property, And so at some point, when you ultimately get to the question of not only what the harm, but what is recoverable, who is covered in those situations and so forth, that's where you have these corollary kind of things and the need for the greater research, okay? Because in that situation, if you look at basic Detroit history, the fur industry, then we get into the stove industry, and then we get into automobile, So we got 3 industries that take place that all of them benefited from the slave trade and treated us as property and so forth, And the real challenge, and I think that Detroiters have, and the reason why we wanted to bring these kind of tools to you is to look, not only research these things, but look at them through those economic lens as well, okay? Because that's how you get to the real issue is accumulated wealth. It's not just what happened to me, it's accumulated wealth. What is accumulated harm?
So, dictation questions, so we got to move on our agenda.
Hi, everyone. Well, with InCobra and the allowance of the individuals that did play an important part here was Reparations Ray Jenkins. We have also the Senator Vaughn, and also all of the moves with Rosa Parks. Those things are intricately important for the city of Detroit or in efforts to our reparations. Moving forward with those legislative agendas, one key barrier that I'm looking at, maybe that ties into the genealogical aspects of things, is those who are caught up in the adoption system and do not have connection or support. How are you to get those individuals to become whole through the genealogical process?
And if someone is adopted, taking a DNA test, they connect you to cousins which mean, and your cousins are your parents' siblings, children's. So if people are able to find their families through taking the autosomal or ancestry DNA, because each of your cousins have taken a DNA test, and that can be generational, because you find first cousin, second cousin test, and they're related to you. Like I said, Senator Morgan, then you'll know this is my first cousin. This person is related to me I'm a first cousin or a second cousin, which means it's a sibling or it's an aunt or an uncle's child. The records may be sealed, but if the individuals have taken the test, you're able to contact them and say, my name is Mary Jones. I have a DNA connection that says we may be first cousins. Now, that person is willing to talk to you, may be able to find out who are your aunts and uncles, because one of your aunts and uncles is related to me. How do I know? Because we have 900 cinnamons, like I said, with my first cousin.
May I just say to the gentle lady out there, I had that happen to me and my family, which my parents are from southern states and moved to Detroit in the 40s and 50s. And 3 years ago, a woman reached out to my brothers and on the way, they're 43 years, because she took a DNA test. He took a DNA test. We've all taken DNA tests, and we were on Ancestry.com. And my niece, my brother's oldest daughter, had done a lot of research. And this woman who was in the adoption system knew nothing about her family. She was somewhere in her 60s or 70s. And so we talked about it. We said, okay, let's release the information. Let's talk to her. And we were able to help her find that she was related to us. So she was then able to find her roots of our tree, which we had gone all the way back to 1817. And so it does happen. And we had it happen to us because we did take those DNA tests that are in the repository of Ancestry.com. And someone out of the blue said, can you help me? I don't know anything about my family, but we are related some kind of way.
Folks,
Good afternoon, I'm Michelle Broughton. I also am constituent services for Councilmember at Large Mary Waters. My question is, I knew my great-grandmother and my great-great-grandmother, parents, both. They told us a story. I know who the slaveholder was. That side of the family still owns the land that they came from and were slaves on. Now the question is, I have grandchildren and my younger cousins. They're not sitting to listen to the stories because of technology. So is there a way, since they're only tech babies and they only want to look and watch the techno stuff, how do we engage the young people to care about their history and where they came from? That's my question.
That's the eternal question for us. Oh, I think days of genealogists, getting the young people involved. One of the things I did for my granddaughter, my great grandmother she died and went to my grandmother. My mother gave it to me. I took the purse, put it in a shadow box, put everything out of it, and listed what I knew about my great grandmother. Her glasses were there. Her crochet needle was there. Her last doily she was wearing. And so I wrote. What I did though, I hung the purse on my wall. My granddaughter asked me what was it, and that gave me an opportunity to tell her, "Oh, that's my great grandmother's purse." I said she used to give us half a piece of gum because we were kids. You know, they never gave us a whole stick of gum. And there was half a stick of gum in there. You know, she had saved her daughter's hairpin, my great aunt Pearl. I said, no, those are my great aunt Pearl. That's your grandma. It's the retelling of the stories and connect and being able to connect them and make them come to life. Jean, seeing the picture on the wall and the stuff I'd written out for my granddaughter, said, hey, that's a children's book. And so I wrote it as a children's book, and I've given that to my children. What it is my story of my relationship with my grandma, my great grandma. I mean, it's that kind of way that we need to connect. It's connecting them to the stories because they'll get interested in the stories.
This is the last question.
Yes, it's just really a question about I was born in Canada. So in Chatham, they have an African-American museum at the rec center. So my mother passed several years ago, but she had a collection of pictures of her friends from years and years and years ago. Last year, I had a fire in the storage because I had this stuff in the storage and lost all of those pictures and some of her things. But the Lord was so good because I have a lot of marriage license properties, you know, the sell down of the properties and stuff down there. Would you advise that possibly they might have something if I go back up into chat? Because I was supposed to take those pictures and then put it in my computer. Then the pandemic happened. So, you know, they kind of lost them. But what DNA test would you possibly advise as a good DNA test? Is it just like?
I'd say start with Ancestry.
Ancestry.
I'd say start there before you start looking for your maternal line and your paternal line. Because that'll give you a connection to, I've got like I don't know how many thousands of cousins, but lots of cousins.
I tried starting on the, I suppose.
And your father's side.
Oh, okay.
Both cousins are.
Thank you so much.
And I don't know,
been up to Amherstburg or go online, they have stories of the families, the original families. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, folks. We're on number 3. Committee reports and subcommittee referrals and other matters. First, I just want to say thank you for your patience with the task force. I'd like to commend the residents for making history with this ballot language. And folks, we're gonna get this right. We just need you to work with us. Won't win building today, but we're gonna get the job done. You're gonna be pleased with the work we did. Okay, and I'm gonna give you a brief report on from 2 aspects. We have we've been working with University of Michigan Poverty Solutions. They're dealing with the harm report. And if you wanted to do this reparation, you got to go through about the harm and the cause of the harm. And so University of Michigan is working with us. We can met with them twice. They're gonna give us a daily update. We'll get the update to you folks when we receive the information. Okay, now the second thing is we're doing an impact report, and we're working with Columbia University, Howard University, and the African Network out of Washington, D.C. They're going to do the impact reports. The impact is the effect of the cause. And so in March, the week of March 10th, they're going to be here for a week. We're going to be going to different locations to do oral interviews. And if you want to be a part of that, get our number. We'll get you engaged in the process because that's very important. Next item, committee reports. Any committee reports?
I just really want to restate that, again, with the assistance with Sheffield's office, we've been able to secure next month's location, which is here. And we have a speaker, what I outlined earlier, Dr. Bernadette Echenay. And she is the person who has been responsible for the overassessment, researching the overassessment of property taxes here in the city of Detroit. She has a very detailed presentation she makes that takes us back from, she styles it South Africa to Detroit. And it kind of gives a broad bridge, if you will, of this period of time. And what she's focusing in more than anything else is that this experience that we've encountered is not just simply people denying us individual privileges and rights in that regard, but that there are economic consequences. And those economic consequences are the things that if proper research is given, like in the case of the overassessment of Detroit property taxes, that those are quantifiable things which you can build as a policy correction as you move forward. So I really invite people to do that. Following that meeting, what we're looking to do is pull together any number of the other people who are doing some of the research on the ground in Detroit, because each one of them represent the Black Bottom Archives and a number of others. These are people who are on the ground doing research and so forth, and they represent a different voice, if you will, in terms of the kind of general work that's being done. And so we're going to be trying to schedule those in these public meetings again. Again, we're committed to first Saturday of each month. And we will be putting out, you know what next month's will be here. And then from that point forward, we'll be announcing as we move forward the next dates. And I mean, the dates will stay the same. The day will stay the same, but we'll be announcing the locations of the speakers as well.
Let's make a step. Board Member Robinson.
Yes, as chair of the Education Committee, we realizing that reparations is a lot, and that even this presentation today, everybody may not have gotten and understood all aspects of what the genealogy reports were about. So what we're doing on the Education Committee is
going to be preparing an online platform where we're keeping track of the topics we're discussing in the task force meetings. And then we'll provide you an online platform for you to be able to go and get additional information over and beyond. We're collecting the presentations from those that are presenting to us. And then we're going to, at our next meeting, begin to schedule regular meetings where, okay, you can come together and we can talk about it. And through that process, add information, because I'm sure there's a lot of rich history in here that when put together, there may be some cousins sitting here right now and you don't know it, but that's part of that real technique of coming together and hearing the stories of the community. So please, we're going to work with Ms. Hill in getting the website for the task force together, but we're going to develop an online platform where you'll have an individual website to go to until we can connect it to together. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other committee reports?
Just the health committee. The health committee meets on the third Tuesday of each month. If you're interested in becoming part of the health committee, please get a hold of me. My name is.
When I got down there, I was stuck.
Chairman, what I say, we're circulating four contact sheets. They're circulating on both sides. So if you would fill out your name, email address if you have one, phone number if you have one, and leave them with us so that we can get you some of the information that we have discussed. Thank you.
And I am chairman of the finance committee. I will fund reparations, and we're starting to meet every Wednesday. So we the one got to pay for all of this, all this wish list. So the doors of my church is open. If you want to participate, you can call my number. Call me at 313-215-4121. 313, you know my number, 215-4121. Okay, next item, number 5. You're going to take questions out. At 1 o'clock. Issue is economic development subcommittees, and there's 2 items we're going to move back to committees. One is the following items to be referred to the economic development subcommittee. Municipal bond economic development proposal, reparations labor union needed bills task force member. And the second issue is revitalization of Paradise Valley, investigation into the loss of entertainment revenues. Keith Williams, co-chair. Okay, unfinished business. Have no unfinished business. We will move on to new business. New business. Also having no new business items, we will move on to our announcement. Today I want to announce that appointment of Sidney Calloway, co-chair of the Detroit Reparations Task Force. Second. And Sister Dan. Okay. Second, the appointment of Janet Basil as treasurer for the Detroit Reparations. And lastly, the appointment of Jeffrey Robinson as secretary of the Detroit Reparations Task Force. Now we got community comments. Oh. I was going. I can say this: we got we're in the process of going through some paperwork with our executive new project manager, Kimberly. All overdue, but we finally gonna get it done right. So since we got Zoom limitations, I'm gonna give people 2 minutes if you want to have comments or talk, and then we're gonna have to bring this to a close. Go to the mic.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
I just want you all to repeat the times and the location of the finance committee meeting, and maybe if other people didn't get the information on whatever committee they wanted to participate in, they can give it as well. But it was so fast, I know it was Wednesday at 1 p.m.
One p.m. on Wednesdays. Wednesdays. What's the name? Every Wednesday.
Yeah, so our subcommittee meets on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. I don't know if we're going to be doing a public meeting, but that's a different.
Yes.
When can we attend a finance meeting when our input is considered?
So you can
That's to the mic.
email us and
That's to the mic.
So if you want to, email.
Senator,
With any, I'm sorry. Is that better? Okay, I can hear myself. So yeah, if you want to send us an email with any of your concerns, we can address them in-house during our subcommittees. And then when we do have answers for you, we'll make sure to reach back out and give you those answers or at least address your concerns.
The meetings are,
They're subcommittees. Subcommittee meetings.
Subcommittee meetings, they are public.
They are not public. No, they're not public. No.
Are you going to have a situation with a public?
We are going to talk about doing something like that in the future to make sure that everybody's informed, but we are focused on doing our reports during these public meetings. So you'll have a report from the financial subcommittee, but it won't necessarily be an entirely open public meeting focused on, unless that's something you prefer. We can talk about that.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Joyce Jennings. I'm very thankful for this opportunity to hear this presentation on today and the work that you're doing. I would like to suggest that as we look at the reparations, that we also include current impacts that we are experiencing as City of Detroit residents, like the rainwater drainage fee as an impact, as well as the solid waste fee, and especially when it comes to services that we're paying for as fees, and then in the contracts that the City of Detroit has with these services that are now being outsourced to contractors. If we could look at the financial impact that that has on us as residents, and especially when the cost of services increase. If we could also look at how the closing of schools has impacted us, and on our tax bills, we're still being charged for school taxes. But we have had schools closed in many neighborhoods. That is an impact as well, because as parents, when the schools close in our neighborhoods, and every parent doesn't have the privilege of having a flex time job. So when you do not have schools that are any longer in your neighborhood, you're still paying taxes, that's an impact. Transportation, driving out of your community. As I've been to the school board meetings, as well as the city council meetings, and they talk about not having enough city buses and students in the evening when they get out of classes, having to wait in some areas up to 3 hours to catch the bus. If we can look at those impacts. Last year, my maternal grandmother, Essie Mae Tompkins, passed away. She was 96 years old, and our family lineage is traced back to the 1800s. We have never lost our land. My family's originally from Quitman, Georgia. So as one of the representatives mentioned some of the losses, I also would like to celebrate as a people, because we haven't lost everything, that we also document some of the things that we have kept. And if you go online, my family's history is also in the African American Museum in Washington, D.C. Emmanuel and Amanda Spencer, you can trace our history back, and our bloodline does connect to various royal families throughout the world. So let's celebrate as well as identify what we have lost so that we can get reparations and even more, our air rights back.
So really quickly, Ms. Joyce, so I invite everybody to join us in March 10th when we talk to Columbia University, Howard University, and to the African American Redress Network, because they're coming into the city of Detroit to collect all of our stories. But I want to particularly reach out to you and tell you that I need you to email me. I need everybody to email me, reparationsdetroit2023@gmail.com. We need all of your information in writing so we can review it. right? Because we're taking down notes the best that we can right now, but to ensure that we are addressing all of your questions and concerns and taking down all of your ideas and recommendations and suggestions, please send it in writing. reparationsdetroit2023@gmail.com. We're going to need you March 10th. Columbia University is coming to collect all of our stories to ensure that it's documented from the mouth of the individuals and the residents in the city of Detroit. So we need you to talk directly to the historians, the archivists, everybody that's coming to collect this data, and remind them of those particular things that we want to look at the impact for. Thank you.
Also, we're gonna have to locate, we're gonna have to post the locations.
Yeah.
Where we
But that
post-
might, so
Yes.
make sure you get both location in writing. Thank you.
Okay, next.
Good afternoon. My name is Kimberly Canty, and my concern is that you're trying to sell bonds. That means we're going to pay for our own devastation. That doesn't make any sense. The other thing is we recently received new water meters. My bill, I got a bill last week. My water bill usage has increased by 5,000 gallons. So that's an issue. Nothing has changed. I've been in my home for 23 years. There's no more people. And so they're actually, that's another, the newest devastation is the new water meters that are increasing your water bills like 5 times what it should be. The other thing is the I-375. How are we gaining when you're going to hire white contractors and pay them millions of dollars, but you're not going to give the families who were devastated by the 375? My family. So how are we benefiting from that? I don't understand why they're getting applause when we're not getting anything. You're going to contract those out to billionaires, millionaires. They're going to make some money, but you're not giving the families a dime. So that's another issue. The other issue is the property taxes. You don't have to give us any money, just give us a credit. You gave Dan Gilbert almost $1 billion tax credit. So I don't understand why we can't get a credit and not be running around asking for money in your pocket. You can just give us a credit and return those families their property because you stole them back. Actually, we should be looking into getting criminal charges filed, not reparations. They need to go to jail because it was fraud. So 75 and the property taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Ditto everything she just said. I'm Sharon Elizabeth Sexton. For those of you who know me, you know me as an Underground Railroad historian, as a filmmaker who did probably one of the first historical documentaries on Black Bottom and Paradise Valley. I like to take credit for everybody being interested in it now. But anyhow, I'd like to introduce you to my first book, and it's dealing with my 1963. My dad tricked me into going. I was 8 years old. It's a 5-year history book dealing with Detroit history from 1963 until 1968. 28 pages, only takes a half an hour to read. So I'd like to invite you all to at Detroit Public Library next Saturday and at the Detroit Historical Museum on Monday. I only have one more of these, so if you'd like to make a copy of it, I have one so you can make a picture of it. Thank you very much, and I hope to see everybody there.
Next.
I wanted to speak to the international alignments that we may need to be considering. Like I said, INCOBRA and HR 40, I know that didn't bring any funding, but yet and still, we have to look at alternative creative ways to bring about funding into our community, and like to say, not outsourced to all contractors. Do you have any particular strategy for connecting with international atmosphere?
Let me say this to you. We've been working with Robert Ruth Simmons out of Evansville, Illinois, the first municipality that gave their community reparations. They have a network that you can get involved with. So just get my number at the end of this meeting, and I can talk to you about it.
Thank you.
Okay. The last thing is adjournment. Move for adjournment. Second. All in favor? Thanks, everyone.